yesterday when I was doing my Bible study session, a message came to me and it was so beautiful and so profound that really spoke to me and it spoke to my heart. And I knew that I needed to share this message with other content creators, aspiring content creators, YouTubers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, whoever you are that wants to, not even wants to, but you've been doing the work. You've been doing the work of building your personal brand, of building your business. You've been on your Instagram. You've been putting out content, right? And the thing is that you struggle, right, with is it good enough, you know? And so the message that came through to me as I'm reading again through the Bible. So, of course, it's the beginning of the year, so I'm starting at Genesis. And in chapters 1 through 3, we learn about God creation, right? We learn about him creating the heavens and earth and all the things on earth and humans and the first people, right? And so the message that came to me is how after everything that God created, he looked back at it and saw it as good. And it just dawned on me how God never said that anything he created wasn't good, or that he needed to start over, or that he missed something, or that it needed to be better. Like he never he never did that. He just created it, looked back on it, and saw it as good, right? And said, this is good. And it was so interesting to me because it made me think about, again, my journey, or the journey as entrepreneurs, as content creators that are putting our work out into the world, our creativity out into the world, our message, our medicine, whatever it may be. When we put it out into the world, right? How those of us that describe ourselves as high achieving, maybe even overachieving, right? Perfectionists, those that, want to make sure all of our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, right? We want to come off and present our work to the world in the best form that it can be, which is great. But in the midst of doing that, sometimes we hold ourselves back by trying to get it perfect. Like we have this vision for how we want it to look. Maybe we are in a little bit of comparison because we're looking at what other people's videos look like if we're YouTubers. We're looking at other people's graphics if we're on Instagram. We're looking at other people and how they're doing it. Maybe it's a coach we look up to. Maybe it's another influencer. And we're just seeing how they are putting their work out, how it looks. And we admire it, right? There's things that we like about it. So when we go to put our own videos out, or our own podcasts, or our own pieces of content, whatever they may be, when we do it, when we actually do it, right? We have the courage. We take the chance on ourselves. We put our creativity into it, our knowledge into it, our wisdom, our experience. We put everything we have into that content. And then once it's done, we don't look back and say, and it's good, right? So going back to how God, he looked back and he saw it as good. I want to highlight the word saw. Saw is just about perspective, right? It is a viewpoint. It is a vantage point, meaning he perhaps could have looked back at his works, looked back at everything he created and said, oh no, this isn't good enough. Oh no, hold on, let me start over. Or you know what? I'm not really feeling that. Like he could have done that, right? There was a choice in doing that, but he didn't. He didn't do that. He looked at it and saw it as good. And what I thought about is why didn't he ever see anything he created as less than good, right? And so the answer that I came up with was, is it because he's a perfect God and he can't do anything imperfectly? Like everything he does is perfect. So it didn't need any correction, criticism, feedback, right? Or is it because God's thoughts are higher than our thoughts? And with that being said, he doesn't even acknowledge anything less than good. He doesn't acknowledge anything as being less than good because of who he is, who he knows who he is. He's like, I am the I am. So whatever I create, it is good. Right? And that even is so good, because whatever the reason may be, maybe it's because he's perfect, he's a perfect God, so everything he creates is perfect, or just because he doesn't acknowledge anything as being less than good, right? Whatever the answer is, whatever the reason may be, the thing about it is, I love that second one, which is his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. He doesn't even acknowledge anything as being less than. And what I really drew even more so out of that is, I'm not saying that as humans, because we are flawed, we are imperfect, and the things that we do will never be perfect, right? There's always going to be room to improve. But I want to speak on the piece of identity, right? I want to speak on the piece of identity, because also in Genesis, we know how when he created mankind, when he created Adam and Eve, and he created man and woman, it was in his image. It was in his likeness. And we know that God is not a physical being, right? That's why he created Jesus. He's not a physical being, so his likeness is a spirit. And so if we go back to the saying of his thoughts, are not the same, but the scripture of his thoughts are higher than our thoughts, then we're talking about our higher selves, right? We're talking about how God sees himself as the Alpha and Omega, as sovereign. He sees himself as the I am, right? He sees himself in this higher light because he is. And that's how we need to see ourselves. We need to see ourselves how God sees us, and how essentially he created us to be. He created us to be in his image, which is to be a higher being, right? And so when you're in your content creation, I want you to take that approach, take on that identity of, you're creating not just willy-nilly. You're not just creating as this whatever regular mediocre person. Like, don't see yourself like that. First of all, like, don't see yourself as, I'm just a beginner, or I'm not good at this. Like, when we put those tags on ourselves, of course, when we finally finish whatever we're putting out there, we're finishing the creation, the content, we may not feel good about it, right? Because we're qualifying ourselves with these less than higher self characteristics and attributes. So of course that's how we're going to feel, right? See yourself as, the message that I'm bringing is valuable, right? The value that I'm putting into this is freaking like something that I know somebody's going to need to hear. Like, when you're creating the content, think of yourself in that way. Think of what you're putting out in that way. Or just have higher thoughts, essentially, right? That's the whole point, is have higher thoughts about the content that you are putting out. And I truly believe that when you begin to put it out, when you finish it and you look back at it, you're also going to see it as good. You're going to see it as good. The other thing that I thought about that came to me as I was thinking about this, outside of identity, is the reason why God was able to look back at what he created and see it as good is because he had already had the vision, right? He had already knew what his intention was for creating earth, for creating heaven. Like, he had this whole plan already, right? He had this plan, he had this vision, and he had the purpose, right? 1, 2, 3. Plan, vision, and purpose for why he was creating what he was creating. And simply by executing, right, taking action on it and finishing it, that alone is worthy to be praised, right? Like that alone is worthy for you to call it good. And especially for us as content creators, especially for those of us who are either new at it, or maybe we've been at it for a while but we haven't quite built the audience or the community, right? We haven't quite gotten to that point where our message or our content, our value has been validated externally, right? So we're you know, we're a little timid about it. We're a little unsure. We're a little uncertain. We don't know. Like, we know for ourselves, like, I feel like this is good, but we've been putting out content, we've been putting out things, and we haven't quite been getting the feedback, the engagement. Our numbers haven't been growing, right? So we're a little doubtful, you know. But I want to say that if you had a vision, God gave you a vision, you knew why you were doing it was to help someone else, to be of service. That's, if you are doing something to help someone else, you are being of service. In service for God is like you doing what you need to do, right? God is like, I'm pleased. And you have the plan, right? God gave you the plan for what he wants you to do, how he wants you to do it, and you have like taken action to do it, to get it done, and it's complete and it's finished, and you put it out there. That alone is enough for you to say, I hit publish, I hit post, or whatever, and that is good. That's good without a validation. That's good without a like. That's good without a view. That's good without a listen. Like, whatever, like, that is good simply because I had a vision and I executed on the vision. I think that sometimes can be overlooked or undermined, or like undervalued. It's another word that I'm really looking for. Underestimated. Like, don't underestimate the fact that you actually executed on the vision, because maybe there was a point you didn't execute on the vision, right? So that's growth, first of all. There are people who never take action. There are people who never take the vision, the ideas that they have in their head and in their heart, and put it into the world. They never make it a physical thing. They never make it manifest. And if you've done that, right, you're already a step ahead. You're already a step ahead. So I want you to acknowledge that, celebrate that, honor that. Like, that alone is worthy to be praised, right? It is worthy for you to say, this was good. This is good. So those were all of the things that came to me, all of the like messages that I was able to draw, you know, the points that I was able to draw just from, you know, being on my Bible study and reading Genesis chapter 1-3. Like, I was like, man, that's a great like analogy, right? If God can look at his work and call it good, and he made us in his image, he wants us to be able to do the same thing. He made us as creators. He made us to create. He made us to share. He made us to have these desires and put them out into the world. He made us to have these gifts, and he made us in his image. So therefore, if he's saying, he's the model, right? God is always our model. If he's done creation, and he can look back at his creation and say it is good, we can do the same thing. And he wants us to. He doesn't want us to have these lower vibrational, lower frequency thoughts of doubt, of unworthy. Because anytime you're saying like, this isn't good enough, and you're critiquing it and you're criticizing it and you're judging it, like, stop doing that. Stop judging your work. Stop judging your content. Stop judging your creation. Because when you do that, all you're doing is operating at a lower vibration. You're being your low vibrational self. Okay? And when you are being your low vibrational self, your lower frequency self, you are not operating as your higher self. Meaning you're not operating in the state that God created humans to operate in, which is like him, in his image, in his likeness, of your higher self. So again, that all of this really, really, really helped me create this shift in my mind about how I see my work, and to really get away from, you know, how I look at my work and my content when I'm putting it out on the internet for other people to see, not measuring it by those external factors of engagement, of likes. Like, yeah, all that is great. And you're going to get to that eventually, but you cannot get to that if you feel so bad about what you create that you stop creating. See, that's the thing, right? When God went on his 7 days of creation, or 6 days of creation, because he rested on the seventh day, when he went on his 6 day creation spree, after each day, right, of whatever he created, he looked back and saw it as good. If he on that first day looked back and said this is not good enough, he couldn't go on to that next day. He couldn't go on to the next thing he needed to create, because he'd be so busy still creating what he was supposed to create on the first day, right? So that will hold you up. Like, if you can't look at the things that you create and see them as good enough, even if you just see it like this is good enough, right? Now I can move on to the next thing. You'll never get to the point where you're putting out enough content to grow. You'll never put out enough content to grow your confidence. So like yourself internally, where like, okay, I'm doing this enough. I'm getting comfortable. I'm getting in the groove. I'm finding my vibe. I'm finding my voice. I'm finding my message. I'm finding my niche. I'm finding my people, right? You'll never get to that point where you're growing internally, so that it starts to become natural and comfortable for you, where you get that confidence to just do it all the time. And also, you never put out enough content where it can actually reach the people you're supposed to reach. Because you got one piece of content out in the world, and it's so much content, it's so much stuff on the internet, so much stuff on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're at, right? It's so much stuff, and you got that one piece of content. It can get lost in the sauce. Like, you need to also be putting out your content, putting out your message like you got the cure for cancer. Okay? If you had the cure for cancer, you just gonna be like, okay, I told y'all one time and nobody saw it, so maybe it wasn't good enough. I don't know. Like, is that gonna be your mindset? Or are you gonna feel like it's people out in this world that have cancer, or that need to be healed, that don't even have cancer, that's going to get cancer, and if I just put out my cure for cancer and spread this, then it's going to heal people. It's going to cause people to live and to not die, right? You're going to put it out there. You're going to keep putting it out there because you believe in the message, and you also know that just putting it out there one time is not going to be enough. Put it out there one time and you didn't get no views. Okay, so what? Put it out again and again and again, so that message can get out there, because we know we're dealing with technology. We know we're dealing with an algorithm. The algorithm got to pick up on it, right? So it needs a little bit more content to figure out, okay, who are the people that needs this message, first of all? Like, have you even given enough content and material to the algorithm? Like, we got to work with what we got here, right? We cannot be unwise about the resources that we have, or the technology that we're dealing with, the tools that we're dealing with. We also have to be wise about that. So if I'm using social media as my platform, and social media operates from an algorithm, then I know I need to understand the algorithm. I know I need to feed the algorithm. I know I need to get in alignment with the algorithm. That means I need to actually create more content. So just went down a little bit of a tangent / a rabbit hole right there, but I do believe every single thing that I said was powerful and purposeful, and that you needed to hear it. Okay, you needed to hear it. So I think that's everything I pretty much want to say in this video. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful. Let me know in the comments what resonated the most with you, and I can't wait to put out another video so we can continue to grow as content creators, as entrepreneurs, as women who wants to change our lives and do it with Christ in the center. So if any of that resonates with you, if any of that is your jazz, any of that is like what you're on, like that's what I'm on, okay, that's my vibe, that's my frequency, then definitely subscribe to my channel and we will build this community together. Make sure you like the video for sure if you did connect with any of these points. Oh, and lastly, if you need any additional help with your own mindset, with your own self-doubt, with your own beliefs, and really getting to that point, and you feel like you just need a little bit more guidance, you need a little bit more one-on-one, you need a little bit more of coaching, I'm inviting you to reach out to me, right? I can help you as a coach who has gone through this very same thing, this very same cycle of doubting, of procrastinating, of perfecting, of not putting out my content, and just, having these achievement patterns that really just have been holding me back. So, if you would like that kind of individual help, if you are serious enough about it, like, or you're like, that like this is something you really need help with, and because you're struggling, right? I invite you to reach out to me. You can put me a comment in a DM, or you can use the link to book a one-on-one call where we could talk more about coaching with me in your situation if it's a good fit. So, okay, I think I'm done now. PS. So I will see you all in the next video.